Hello everyone, my name is Legend Ronnie and this game is Rise of Kingdoms. Frederick the First, Commander Spotlight version 2.0. It has been probably more than a year since I've done his Commander Spotlight, so obviously he deserves a review, he deserves an update on the Commander Spotlight. So this is the version 2.0 of that. He is max skill, I have used him a lot. I personally do not regret for maxing him out. I believe he was my second legendary that I maxed out on this account, if not the first. I'm not 100% sure, but my first two were Frederick and YSG was for that reason, because I wanted to use them together, but obviously YSG first. I'm definitely going to show you guys some battle reports. I believe I still do have some battle reports from my first KVK, second KVK. They brought me a lot of joy and a lot of utility on the battlefield and rallies. Right, so before we go into the commander, first thing first, you guys want to know, because it's a Commander Spotlight, you want to know approximately the amount of stars that you need to max out a legendary, and you want to know exactly the amount of sculptures that you need to max out a legendary, which is 690. That is a lot of sculptures. A couple more things we can say about Frederick, and which is in general to all the legendary commander, is that it's also advisable to keep all the legendaries at 1 star. Max out their primary skill, after that move to the second, third or fourth depending on the commander. Now if you unlock the all stars on a legendary commander, it's random how the skills go in, but if you keep them at 1 star and only the first skill is unlocked, then guarantee every time you're upgrading the skill of that commander will upgrade his primary skill. Frederick is one of those commanders that is also recommended to max out their second skill before you're gonna unlock the other stars. To give you some examples is Julius Caesar, for example. He's again a 5/5 commander. After that you can unlock his other stars. I can give you Mehmed, again he's a 5/5 type of commander. After that you can unlock his other skills. Now on this video I'm gonna talk about Mehmed, because you probably noticed in the title Frederick and Mehmed. So everything I say about Frederick is also applying to Mehmed as well. They both need the first two skills maxed out before you wanna use them on the battlefield. And they both have leadership, conquering and skill. So pretty much everything I say about Frederick can be applied as Mehmed as well. So that's the reason why I'm gonna talk about both of them, and that's the reason I put both of them in the title. Couple more important things is that talents only apply from the primary commander, so make sure the primary commander is also equipped with the talents that you desire or the right talents. Also, equipment only applies from the primary commander, so if you're using Frederick or Mehmed as primary, make sure they have the correct talent paths. Now we've seen how expensive it is to max out a legendary. Unfortunately, Mehmed is one of those commanders which I recommend to be maxed out before you want to use them. If you want to use them for field battles, Frederick and Mehmed both can be used as 5/5. Once their primary two skills are maxed out, you can use them on field battles. I'm more inclined of using Mehmed as 5/5 over Frederick. I've noticed that Frederick, until I obtained his expertise, the results on the battlefield were not as high as I was expecting. I'm also going to show you guys some battle reports from my first and second season of the KVK. Let's go first into the talents, and after that we're going to talk about the pairings, and we're going to see about some battle reports. I'm also going to post a lot of cards from my first and second season of KVK. If you guys want to see them in action, YSG and Frederick, they're literally just very powerful, and there are two commanders that you also start the game with. So let's go into the talents. So this is the sieging talent build that I have on Frederick. So whenever I use Frederick primary, this is why it has this build preset up. This is the build that I used, and after that I have other builds as well. Now the reason I use this is because Frederick, Mehmed, YSG, Osman, all these commanders, they are all pure nuking oriented. So you want to empower that as much as possible, and for that reason I go with the skill, I go with the feral nature, because you want that bar to be filled up and you want to do as much damage as possible, because that's what all these commanders that I'm mentioning about, this is what these commanders are focused on. Then because it's usually for sieging cities, I have entrenched, and generally it's mix of troops. When you siege city, you kind of use siege, stuff like that. So I went with armed to the teeth. I like this build, I like how it works. And when I use siege rallies, I'm also going to show a report because we zeroed a T5 player in the second KVK with just siege. And I used Frederick primary with YSG second, they just work really well. Now if I want to use him for field battle and I want with a single type of troops and I want as much march speed as possible, this is the talent build that I use. And if you want to care about just doing as much damage as possible, you know that march speed is not your favorite thing. For specific type of troops, this is the talent build that you use. I'm usually in favor of march speed as much as possible because you also get faster to the battlefield, you also get faster to the battle. And when you feel battle, the rage bar feels anyway because there's a lot of AoE, we get a lot of damage. So it's kind of getting filled up anyway, the rage bar. Not sure feral nature is actually that helpful on field battles. On rally it's totally different. So that's why I usually prefer march speed when I do field battles. That's why all my builds are so march speed oriented. If that's not for you, then you can go with feral nature. Now if I go into Osman, because I did mention about him, he has the same talent trees as you're noticing, leadership, conquering and skills. Same as Mehmed, leadership, conquering and skills. So that's the reason I'm doing Frederick and Mehmed right now. If I go to Osman, you're noticing that it's the exact or similar talent builds. The only difference is that I don't have increased defense of all units led by this commander, 1% versus Steely Souls, which is normal attack by 1%, which is, trust me, is nothing crazy. It's just 2 points difference than Frederick. But if I check the other builds, you're noticing that is the same build that I have on Frederick. If I wanna or if I care about just dealing maximum damage, is the feral nature, and then is the rally one, which is again as similar as you can see with Frederick. Right, so that is pretty much about the talents I mentioned. The reason I'm going with the feral nature is because I want to empower as much as possible the skill talent tree. Now let's see if we can find some reports. And how about that? It didn't even took me so long. I'm not sure if I actually saved that many. So this is the player that we actually zeroed with just siege. So let me see if I can get to the first one, which is this one. No, we rallied a different player here, but we still use siege. Again, we rallied a different player here. We still use siege. You can tell by the resource looted. And then I believe is King Fares. So he had 2.2 million troops. He had Julius Caesar and YSG, which I would say that is a fairly decent combination. We had one reinforcement in the rally, but we only used siege. The mix of troops talent that I have on Frederick, I didn't apply obviously on this one because we use siege, which is one type of troops, but still, just because we had skill damage and a lot of rage restoration from both commanders, it just actually worked really well, and we managed to zero T5 player with just siege. And slowly we filled up his hospital. You see on the second rally, which again siege, because Evil Bubble was trying to take down the rally, and you're noticing the severely wounded, and he started having that because his hospital was getting filled up from all the severely wounded. But we had YSG, so even if they were siege, because we had YSG, he was doing AoE damage, so he was giving us a lot of benefits. And again, same player, and again same player, and we only used siege. So definitely Frederick can be used primary. I highly recommend it, especially when you want to take down cities, when you want to take down flags, when you want to take down fortresses or any kind of objectives that are defended by players and is not a city. I recommend using specific specialization commanders like YSG primary, like I don't know, Genghis Khan primary, Edward primary, or any other rally commanders that you want to use. I'm also going to look some reports with YSG and Frederick, see if we can find some reports. So there you go, YSG and Frederick in action. Like I mentioned, I'm also gonna post a card. Anyway, I think in the video you'll find a lot more reports about this, and you're noticing the difference of the dead. YSG and Frederick, they were doing just so much damage. They were even rallying us. YSG and Frederick, I definitely vouch. You should definitely use him. They are really good together. YSG and Mehmed, it's also really good, to be honest. I have seen a lot of very good reports with YSG and Mehmed. If I would have a maxed out Mehmed, especially against rallying cities or even against rallying flags or other objectives, I would definitely try him. Because first of all, you can get another 10% archers with your YSG. So instead of rallying with 1.5 million, you rally with 1.6. So you already have a slight advantage over the defense. Second of all, you have attack and skill damage increase. Plus, when you obtain his expertise, you have like 1,350, which is not something you want to give away. So definitely, even against cities or even against objectives, I will definitely try Mehmed, but for me it's not yet maxed, so I couldn't try him. Plenty of pairings that you can do with Mehmed. If I want to go through all the commanders, it would actually take me too long, but a lot of synergies with any kind of nuking or skill damaging commanders. I also used Minamoto with Frederick. I wasn't very happy about the results, I'll tell you the truth, even though the synergy is actually really good between Max Frederick as a second in command to Minamoto or Frederick as a second in command to Genghis Khan. The synergy should be really good, but it's actually not working the way I'm expecting. On the other hand, Mehmed actually works better for some reason. I believe because of the 20% skill damage and 20% attack. I think it actually makes a much better synergy with Minamoto or with Genghis Khan or with Saladin or any other commander. Sun Tzu primary if you want to use with Mehmed as a second in command, also a very good situation. Herman primary, Mehmed second, or Frederick second. Sun Tzu primary, Frederick second. Any kind of skill damaging combinations you want to make with Frederick or you want to make with Mehmed, they definitely work. Even if you want to use Kusunoki primary with Frederick second, or you want to use Kusunoki primary with Mehmed second, again, nothing wrong with that. You also have Osman, you also have Baybars. So if you're not using Baybars and Ethelflaed, if Ethelflaed is paired with a different march, and you have a 5-5 Mehmed, you can definitely do Baybars and Mehmed. There's nothing wrong. So as long as you have a specific specialization commander primary, like Cavs, Archers, Infantry, with skill, these conquering commanders or these multi-utility commanders like Frederick, Mehmed, like Julius Caesar can definitely be used as second to these commanders. If you want to pair Frederick with Mehmed, you can, but I honestly don't believe that you will get a lot of results from them. If you want to hit cities, then probably will definitely work. They will do a lot of damage to a city if you have a maxed out Frederick and a maxed out Mehmed. I will still say that specific specialization commanders can do a little bit better. But if you want to use siege or mix of troops just to throw some troops to a city, Frederick and Mehmed can definitely do it. And again, like I said, Frederick can be used as 5-5, but my recommendation is that Frederick is one of those commanders that need to be maxed. The low spender and the free-to-play player, they just tend to max the first, the second skill on a lot of legendaries just to try to get as much benefits on the battlefield rather than just using epics. Well, I can let you know that Frederick is not one of them that you can do small investments. It's that kind of commander that you need to do a lot of investment. Commanders like Saladin can work with the first 3 skills. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Commanders like Richard, commanders like Charles, they can work with the first 2 or even with the first. Charles Martel is very useful once the primary is maxed. Then you have Minamoto. Again, the first 2 is mostly the skills that you need the most from him. After that, if we go further on other commanders, you have Alexander, which again, the primary two are mostly the most important one. I would recommend the third one as well, but I just don't find infantry benefiting so much from attack as the other troops. If you're planning to max him out at some point, then it's your choice. Constantine, the first two, it's also very useful. Richard, once you max out the first skill, that's pretty much all he needs. I already showed you Julius 5-5, Mehmed 5-5, and obviously it's the new commanders, but for some other time. Again, very useful commander, still a lot of utilities. The new commanders, it's like 1.5 years now and we still haven't unlocked them, so there's actually no reason to make plans for those. You definitely need commanders to go to the first KVK, you definitely need commanders to go through the second KVK as well, Osiris, and whatever other events there is. If you invested in Frederick, you haven't done anything wrong. He's very powerful. Like I mentioned, as a second in command and 2 archers. I did try him with Cavs. I have a lot of Cav specific commanders. I usually do around 5 marches on the field, and believe me or not, Frederick is not included, because every time I check the reports of that march, it's not doing great. With archers is a different story. With archers, they are actually doing great, even for field battle. So even YSG and Frederick on field battles, I was really happy with the reports. So if they are making the mistake of not targeting Frederick, it is insane how much you can do with the YSG and Frederick on the field battle. I don't have saved all the reports, but I did had some reports that was too lovely. Obviously, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think, and if you have any questions about Frederick and Mehmed. This is your boy Johnny signing off. Peace out, yo, and take care.